Hey friends, hello the world. I hope that you can hear me and see me for those of you who are watching me. Greetings from me, Asel, from my village in Kyrgyzstan. And I'm getting ready to move to my next station, which I'm choosing is Serbia. So I want to live in Serbia for 3 months as of 11th of January. So anyone who is from Serbia or living in Serbia who listens to me or who knows me, I would love to get together. So you let me know. Anyway, so I hope that you've all had amazing New Year's and you are looking forward to transitioning to the new year. So I've been thinking and talking a lot about transitioning, especially for humanitarians as of this month. And just to let you know that I have organized a networking event on transitioning, which is taking place on 27th of, yes, I think 27th of January. So if you're not in the list or if you haven't given me your email, make sure that you do that. And also I have created a Facebook community with like-minded people who want to talk about transitioning and coaching around transitioning. So if you're one of them who wants to do this, please let me know as well in the show notes and in the blog post. You'll have all the details. And the last one I want to say in terms of the announcements on transitioning is that I have prepared already an amazing content on how to prepare for transitioning from humanitarian to non-humanitarian sector. If you're wanting to do that, considering or in the process, you should definitely come to my webinar, and that is happening on 21st of January. So beside all of this, there are so many news that is happening and I'm so glad and happy to be talking about it. So beside doing the one-on-one individual coaching that I do with humanitarians and others who want to make decisions and transition, I'm also doing a group coaching, which I call a gym for the mind, where we can work out with our thoughts, with our feelings, and you can do your own digging using certain tools. And if you are wanting to do that, you are welcome to join my club, which I'm doing in 3 languages, English, Russian, and Kyrgyz. So I'm so excited that I have so many things going on, and also just it has been an amazing week so far. So without a further ado, I want to talk today about transitioning in general. And if you are someone who's considering it and thinking about it, so this might be for you, where I'll be talking about questions and the power of questions and about what to expect. Because I've been talking this week also about them fearing the fear and transitioning back and forth and quitting versus completing. I've also put all of them in on the blog post. You will see the show notes if you missed that. So the way that I want to talk about transitioning, for me at least, makes sense is that transitioning is moving from one state of mind and circumstance to another one that's distinctive and significant. And obviously in life, I think we do transition so many times. So maybe some of them were cognizant of, others were not. Like in terms of age brackets, we might be going from one to another in terms of positions, in terms of organizations, in terms of life circumstances of being a spouse or being single or widowed, parenting, whatever it is. There are so many ways that we could look at transitioning. And I don't think that transitioning is good or bad. It's just is, it's part of life. And even though oftentimes I think it comes across as being difficult or something that we need to really do a lot of thinking about, planning about, and all of this stuff. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't do any of that, but I'm just saying let's do it in a way that's useful and easier for all of us to do it, instead of making it complicated or so difficult that we just end up refusing to do it, resisting to do it, or being in denial of doing it. So these are the proposals that I will be talking about throughout the month, including in my webinar as to how to prepare yourself for transitioning. I will be talking specifically about certain mindset and certain tools that you could take along with you to the journey. Here, I want to talk about more about the questions and the power of them. So I think oftentimes when we think about transitioning, by the way, I forgot to tell you that I like actually transitioning because of these reasons that I wanted to list for you just in case you want to consider them. So I think transition for me helps clarify and clear out things that I haven't really looked at in a long time, and also decide which ones I want to keep and which ones I want to take. It's a bit like moving from one house to another, I think. Even though I don't like the process, at the same time, I understand and somehow see the value of it, because it helps me also declutter things and decide which one to keep and which one to do, and then design the next house in a new way. So that's why I think I like transition from that perspective. And also, I like transitioning because it helps me test my trust in myself, that I may not have done it in a long time because I have been comfortable in a zone where I was. And now, whenever I move and change circumstances, I feel like invigorating yet also scared, but also learning how to trust myself in that process. And the last one, maybe to mention it here, is that transitioning may help also bring out a lot of emotions that I haven't looked at again, or emotions that I was avoiding in some ways, and they come up anyway. So that's why I think transition in general is a good thing. And it can be done in a way that is less painful or less suffering if we make it so that it serves our purpose and not against ourselves. So one of the ways that I have been seeing that we use transition against ourselves is when we use questions in the wrong way, and quote unquote, meaning in the not useful way. And they not only not help us, they exacerbate the problem. So one of the main questions that we come up with in thinking of transitioning is something like, what if it doesn't work out, right? What if, and then something negative. And obviously, our brains are good at focusing on something negative so that we can stay alive. And it's our default function of the brain, so nothing can be done about it. Yet, we also have another higher function in our brain that says that, wait a minute, let's balance it, or let's have a look at the opposite of what if it doesn't work out. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't ask that question, and I think it's important that you ask that question, but it's also important to ask, what are you going to do to make it work? Would be the next question I suggest that you ask. I will be going through those questions and how best you could use them to your advantage. But for now, what I really want to point out here, in terms of what if it doesn't work out, obviously it has the fear behind it. And again, it's normal that we have fear in everything that we do that's new, that's different. So fear is never, for me, a sign that we shouldn't be doing it. Fear is something that just alerts us as to whether we're sure we want to do it or not. And also lately, I've been realizing that my fear is actually my bodyguard. And I've been writing about this as well, that it's a bodyguard that ensures that I'm safe, that I'm doing well, that I have it throughout the darkness. I call it in quotes darkness, when I'm not really sure and I'm figuring things out. Once I figure things out and I'm fine with it, the fear goes away. So it's fulfilling its function, it's serving us, it's important that we have it, and there's nothing to fear of the fear. So meaning that fear does not mean that we should not pursue it. Fear just means that it's necessary we have it, and we check with ourselves. So that's why it's important that we not only expect the fear, but we also know how to process it and how to welcome it and how to have it in accompaniment of our journey. And whenever we are asking these questions, the other thing that I want to note is that oftentimes we ask questions from the perspective of um, deflecting responsibility. Like we say, what if it doesn't work out? Meaning as if someone else has to come over and make it work. But we know as well that if we're transitioning, we need to be making it work because it's our decision. We decided to do that, even though we want to believe that we had to and we were forced. But in the end of the day, if we don't take responsibility for our transitioning, then it will be very difficult to do. So in other words, if we are doing it because we were fired or we had to leave because of the boss or the colleague or other circumstances in our lives, and we are choosing to believe that because of them I have to leave and I have to transition now that I don't want to, and all of this stuff, then we will make it very difficult because not only we are not wanting to move forward, but we haven't really processed what's going on with our previous lives or the previous circumstances. So that's why I think it's important that we look at the questioning. And I know that it may sound very pedantic for me to go down into the granulars, but I think it's important that we look at the questioning itself and say, is this really right? Is this really the useful way to ask the question, right? Because if we say, what if it doesn't work out, then we'll be always trying to find answers outside as to who else can help us fix it. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't ask for help. It's just that let's take responsibility for us transitioning and also us making it work. Then the question could be something like, how do I make it work? Or if we just paraphrase what if it doesn't work, if we paraphrase into someone who is asking with responsibility, I could say, what if I'm not taking, or what if I'm not making it work? Then the obvious question is, why wouldn't we make it work? We are wanting, or we are in the situation where we need to transition, so why wouldn't we make it work? It just doesn't make sense, right? So that's why you can see that the power of question is such that depending on what question we ask ourselves, we get the answer. So if we know the question is, what if I don't make it work? Then I will say, obviously, I will make it work. The question is how. Now, this might be a very useful question. So this might be the question that you want to ask, something like, how do I make it work so that my transition becomes easier and less painful? Right? So I have prepared some of the questions that we typically have when we are transitioning that we could ask. So instead of asking, what if I fail? Because that's also another one that we ask throughout or in the process of transitioning. Instead of asking that, what if we ask, how do I manage when I fail? Or what do I do when I fail? Because again, I don't think it's useful to believe that we won't be failing and we will be just great and going through smoothly and everything will be fine. Or the opposite, we also sometimes make it like, I will go through it. Of course, there will be difficulties and I will deal with it, right? This is like, let's just go through this tunnel without looking, or go through this forest without looking and hoping everything will be fine. I mean, I'm not really an outdoor person, but I was in forest several times, and I remember preparing for it because We know that it can be dangerous. We know that there might be some risks and threats, so we need to be prepared to go through the forest. And that's why I think of the transition like a forest. It's somehow wonderful. We know it's necessary, it's needed, it's important for our growth as a planet, yet we also are afraid of it, and for the right reasons. So that's why just going through without looking at it and closing our eyes and going through, we know that it's difficult and it may be painful. So why would we do that? So that's why let's ask ourselves the question of, I am likely to fail, so how am I going to deal with it? What are the resources I need to deal with it? What are the resources I have, and what are the resources I need to be banking on or preparing for, right? So the other question that I had is when I was thinking of transitioning is that, what if I lose this opportunity? Meaning, so back in the day, I was in a very high position in UNHCR that I loved, and I kept thinking, what if I lose this opportunity if I leave it? Meaning, next time, if I want to come back, I will probably not be coming back to such a managerial job that I wanted. So what if I lose this opportunity? Now, instead of asking that, what if I lose this opportunity? How about you ask the question of, how do I create another such opportunity if I want to? Now, that's more empowering question, and that's likely to lead to a particular answer. So that's why you can see that I think you got the gist of, I think we underestimate power of questions, and we don't really think in terms of, what answer are we trying to really get out of this by asking them? Because I think we just believe in our default brains chatter or default brains drama as to, oh my God, what if it's not going to work out? What if it's going to be this? What if I fail? And all this stuff. And then we just hang out in the, what if it doesn't work land, instead of, or including balancing with, what if it does work out, right? So that's why I've been talking actually recently this week in my Russian video. I was talking about, we seem to have this two poles, that one is in the land of, or the pole of things not working out, being in the deficit state of mind, everything lacking, needing something. And the other one is in the sufficiency pole, where we have everything we need, we can handle things, we are resourceful and all of this stuff. And oftentimes, and I mean, I don't know if that applies to you, but at least I realized that it applied to me for over 20 years of my life, is that I spent my life in this pole of everything lacking, always something lacking, something not being right, and I'm not being worthy, and all of this stuff. Instead of hanging out and practicing being in this other pole, where it is, I actually have all the resources and I can do things, and I have all my resources that I can use to tackle those failures, those issues, those opportunities that I lost. I can create new ones. So that's why I'm suggesting that whenever you're transitioning, at least ask the questions that are useful for you, and really understand how powerful questions are and consequences of asking those questions. And B, expect that fear is going to be there, and it's absolutely fine, and it will probably continue to stay with you for a long time. And C, if you're going to hang out in the land of, or in the pole of deficit, explore also staying in the pole of sufficiency, and trying to look at things from, what else could you do to tackle whatever is going to come up. So again, I'm not suggesting that you just put yourself in a denial of everything's going to go well and you will be going smoothly, or everything is going to fall apart and you will have to do something about it to emergency fix it, but rather think about in terms of being very meticulous as to how your mind is working now and how can you balance it to the opposite, and notice and be intentional to design that transition in the way that serves you, that doesn't scare you, that actually helps you realize that you have all the resources, that you have your trust in yourself, that you can actually practice it by transitioning. And it's not a scary thing that many of us might believe. So, having said all of this, I hope that you will try out what I've suggested, and I'm really wishing you a great start of the year. It has started so well for me, and I'm so excited. And I really wish that you also have an amazing transition, either from year to year or from one state of mind and circumstance to another one. And I'm very confident that you can do so much and also learn so much. And it's a great opportunity to test and to see how much you can trust yourself. Then I see you in the next week's video.